Hello and welcome, guys. The recent headlines of what happened to Marks and Spencer's, Harrods, and potentially Co-op seems to cause havoc across the cyber industry because of what happened with Scattered Spider. So I wanted to come and join this video, guys, and to kind of delve deeper and explain, first of all, what is Scattered Spider, how this group operates, a bit about their history and just shine a bit of a light, guys, what threats they potentially pose and what we could do to prevent ourselves. So, first of all, I think, in the ever-evolving world of cyber threats, one group of attackers has recently made headlines for hitting some of the biggest names in hospitality and retail. So this is kind of Spider, as I mentioned. So a hacking collective of kind of unusually young English-speaking cyber criminals that has emerged as a formidable threat since all the way since 2002. So essentially, this group specializes in social engineering and aggressive extortion tactics. They're causing major disruption at casinos, hotels, and even iconic British retailers. So in this video, I want to explore who Scattered Spider is, how they operate, the tactics and tools they use, which we try to map to MITRE ATT&CK framework, and some of the most notable breaches from MGM Resorts and Caesar's Palace to recent attacks to, Marks and Spencer's, Co-op, and potentially Harrods, as I mentioned, and what organizations can do to defend against them. So, Scattered Spider represents a new kind of breed of threat actor, highly skilled in social manipulation. They're technically adept and audacious in their targets. Despite many members of being more mere teenagers in their early 20s. So let's dive first of all in the origins and evolution to understand how this group rose to the prominence. So Scattered Spider first appeared on the cyber threat landscape around mid 2022, and they very quickly built a reputation as one of the most active financial extortion groups in operation. Security researchers have tracked this group under several different names. In fact, Scattered Spider is also known by the aliases such as UNC3944, which is used by Mandiant Group, Octo Tempest, which is essentially a code name referenced by Microsoft and others, Roasted Octopus, Storm0875, Star Fraud, Scattered Swine, and Muddle Libra, some of the names that have been attributed to them. So these multiple monikers exist because different cybersecurity organizations essentially identify the group independently and they assign their own names. So over time, it kind of became clear that they were all the same threat actor group, with Scattered Spider becoming one of the most widely used labels, essentially notably by FBI and CISA in an official advisory. So from the start, Scattered Spider stood out for its demographics and style. Unlike many ransomware or extortion gangs that are based mainly in Eastern Europe or Russia, Scattered Spider's core operators are native English speakers hailing from the US and UK. The reports indicate that some members may be as young as 16 to early 20s. This youthful English-speaking makeup is unusual in the cybercriminal world, and in part, it explains their tactics. They blend into corporate culture more easily during social engineering calls, and they may be driven by clout and notoriety, bragging on hacker forums as much as by money. So initially, Scatter Spider activity focused on telecommunications, technology, and outsourcing companies, possibly aiming to steal phone numbers or credentials via swapping and phishing. But by late 2022, they were conducting campaigns against telecom and business processing outsourcing firms, even targeting mobile carriers to perform SIM swap attacks. Now, as they matured, they expanded their targets. In 2023, Scattered Spider broadened its scope to go after gaming and hospitality companies, financial services, retail, and more, including cloud service environments. So this expansion led to some of the huge breaches we'll discuss shortly. But by 2023 and into 2024, Scattered Spider had even partnered with ransomware gangs. First, working as affiliates of Black Hat, ALPHV ransomware, and later adopting new ransomware like RansomHub and Killin in 2024. As Black Hat underwent turmoil, throughout the evolution, their core skill remained social engineering, but they continuously added new tools and techniques to their arsenal. Now, let's explore actually how Scattered Spider operates, their tactics and their techniques. So, the modus operandi of Scattered Spider is defined as by clever social engineering, abuse of legitimate tools, and persistence in evading security measures. So let's break down their typical tactics, techniques, and procedures with references to MITRE ATT&CK framework where applicable. So the initial access normally is via social engineering. So not all scattered spider intrusions begin with phishing or vishing, which is voice phishing attacks. They craft convincing emails or SMS messages, which is smishing, tailored to the target organization, often using lookalike domains such as victim name -sso.com or victim name -octa.com to fool users into thinking they are legitimate login pages. A common gambit is to impersonate the company's IT help desk or security team. For example, Scattered Spider actors have posed as company IT support in phone calls or texts to trick employees into revealing their passwords or one of the MFA passcodes. Now, in some cases, they direct the unwitting employee to a remote access tool under the guise of troubleshooting, thereby gaining a backdoor into the network. These social engineering ploys are extremely effective because the attackers come across as authentic IT staff. They may have personal info about the employees gathered prior from previous data breaches or data recon to make their ruse more credible. Secondly, they use MFA fatigue and swap and attacks. Scattered Spider doesn't stop at just basic phishing. They're known for their multi-factor authentication fatigue attacks, where they bombard a user with repeated push push notifications or calls until the user accidentally or out of frustration accepts an MFA prompt. This technique, also called MFA bombing, exploits human fatigue, eventually allowing the target to tap approve and to silence the alerts, unknowingly letting the attacker in. Additionally, the group performs SIM swapping to defeat the MFA that relies on text messages or phone calls. Now, in a SIM swap, the attacker convinces the victim's mobile carrier to transfer the phone number to a new SIM card under their control. Well, this lets them receive the victim's 2FA SMS codes or calls. So, with a combination of phishing, MFA fatigue, and SIM swap, which are all social engineering attacks, Scattered Spider can often obtain valid credentials and MFA access tokens, essentially to log in as legitimate users. Now, there's an important message here, guys. I always say hackers don't hack in, they just log in by obtaining credentials. So, in some instances, they have been resorted to threatening or harassing users to coerce them into handing over credentials and MFA codes, showing the lengths that they will go to breach an organization. Now, they're also abusing legitimate tools, which means living off the land. So once inside the network, Scattered Spider threat actors prefer to blend in with a normal IT activity. They often use legitimate, commercially available remote administration tools rather than custom malware on a classic living off the land approach. According to an FBI investigation, after gaining access, the group was observed using tools such as TeamViewer, Screen Connect, Splashtop, Pulseway, and AnyDesk to move around and maintain access. These are tools that system administrators often use for remote support, which make their presence less suspicious. Now, Scatter Spider even employs tunneling utilities like ngrok to bypass network restrictions. So essentially, ngrok can tunnel to a local system to the internet aiding covert access. So by allowing this software, the attackers make it harder for security defenses to detect them on software signatures alone. In fact, the group has shown adeptness at modifying their TTPs on the fly to avoid detection and to adapt to the victim's environment. So, for example, if endpoint security is present, they might shift tactics or employ custom scripts to disable protections. And last but not least is obviously persistence and privilege escalation. After initial breach, Scattered Spider works to secure a foothold and escalate privileges. One known technique is register their own devices or credentials for MFA on a compromised account, effectively adding themselves as an authorized user to the legitimate account owner is locked out. They've also been observed leveraging identity management tricks in cloud environments. For instance, abusing single sign-on settings by adding a rogue identity provider or exploiting trust relationships to give their accounts higher privileges in the network. Now, with escalated privileges, they can conduct extensive reconnaissance within the victim's environment, enumerating Active Directory, users, and groups, scanning file shares and databases, and even querying cloud infrastructure dashboards essentially to map out the network. And they may dump credentials from memory using tools such as Mimikatz, which is essentially a credential dumping, is an example of credential access via unsecured credentials. And even share search compromised systems for any stored passwords or keys. So by the time they're ready to move laterally, Scanner Spider likely already has admin level control or key systems. Some of the other techniques to mention that they use includes, lateral movement and data theft. They potentially use extortion and impact techniques. But what makes Scattered Spider particularly dangerous is their agility. They're decentralized and adaptive. As one expert put it, even when law enforcement arrests some members, the group's loosely connected cell-like structure allows it to continue operating. They also constantly adjust their techniques. So if one phishing approach stops working, they find another. If a security tool blocks one remote employees on help desk calls, they are essentially switched to a different one. They have even leveraged AI-generated voices to impersonate employees on help desk calls, illustrating how they will innovate in social engineering. So all these factors are social engineering mastery, technology know-how, and use of legitimate tools and ransomware deployments makes Scattered Spider a potent threat actor, combining the tactics of both intrusion specialists and ransomware gangs. Now, tools and malware used by Scattered Spider. So, as I mentioned earlier, they use commercial remote access tools such as AnyDesk, TeamViewer, Screen Connect, Splashtop, Pulseway, FleetDeck, Level.io, Tactical RMM, and Tailscale VPN. They also use credential theft tools to escalate privileges and move laterally. So Scattered Cyber normally employs credential dumping tools. The most notable is obviously Mimikatz. They also use malware. So while Scattered Spider leans heavily on legit software, they use some malware in their operations. So they use remote access Trojans. One example is Ave Maria or Warzone remote access Trojan tool. They also use info stealers, as noted by Raccoon Stealer and Vidar, which are two information stealing malware families linked to scattered spider operations. So these malware are typically delivered via phishing emails, downloaded in the post-exploitation phase. They also use some custom malware for evasion. So the group has shown the capability to use custom malicious code when needed. The Trellix research noted that StoneStop and Portree, a pair of malware components Scattered Spider used to disable security software. Now, StoneStop is a loader for a malicious driver, which often essentially is exploited the vulnerable Intel driver mentioned earlier. And Portray is essentially the payload that terminates the processes. So by unloading or killing endpoint security, they clear themselves a path to ransomware deployment. We mentioned ransomware. So Scattered Spider was closely tied to Black Hat ransomware operations. But later, and obviously Microsoft and others reported that the group began using new ransomware called ransom.hub in 2024, and even a strain called Killin. This suggests that Scattered Spider might operate somewhat independently or a shop around ransomware as a service partners. Dragonforce ransomware, mentioned in some reports on the MNS attack, could be an example on ransomware hub variant used by the group. The media descriptions of ransomware names are sometimes not precise, but regardless of the name, the effect is the same. Servers are locked and data is encrypted. So, in summary, Scattered Spider's toolkit is a mix of legitimate IT software and open source hacker tools and malware provided by criminal partners. This combination allows them to be stealthy at first, then turn extremely destructive once they're ready to extort the victim. Now, let's explore some of the high-profile breaches attributed to the Scattered Spider. So, Scattered Spider's activities has been linked to numerous incidents across different industries. Below are some of the examples. So, MGM Resorts International, which was September 2023, Scattered Spider grabbed global attention when they breached MGM Resorts, one of the world's largest casino hotel chains. The attackers reportedly gained access by impersonating an MGM employee in a call to the company's help desk, convincing the support staff to grant them credentials. Once they're inside, they severely disrupted MGM's IT systems, affecting reservation systems, slot machines, and digital room keys for days. The group allegedly deployed ALPHV or Black Hat ransomware on MGM's infrastructure, including encrypting VMware ESXi servers that ran critical applications. MGM refused to pay the ransom, and the incident caused widespread service outages across MGM's Las Vegas properties. Now, this attack illustrated that Scattered Spider's hallmark tactics, social engineering to penetrate well-defended company, and then ransomware to maximize the impact. Around the same time as the MGM incident, Caesars Entertainment, another major casino operator, was also compromised, reportedly by the same group. In Caesar's case, though, initial access was believed to be gained via a third-party IT vendor that had access to the Caesars network. Scattered Spider actors infiltrated Caesars and stole sensitive data on over 6 terabytes of data, including customer records. Caesars chose to quietly pay the ransom to the hackers, about $15 million, to prevent the data from being leaked. This was disclosed in an SEC filing and later public reports, marking one of the largest reported ransom payments. Now, the Caesars breach underscores the group focus on data theft and extortion. Even without openly crippling operations, the threat of leaking high-value personal data was enough to prompt the payment. There are other attacks in 2022 and 23. Prior to casinos, Scattered Spider had been linked to numerous intrusions. Some researchers say that over 100 attacks in 2023. For example, they target several mobile carriers and telecom companies to perform SIM swaps. And then obviously the latest one, Marks and Spencer's, in April 2025. So Scattered Spider appears to have turned its attention to the UK retail sector. M&S, which is a major British retailer, suffered a crippling cyber attack around April 21st, 22nd. M&S had to suspend all online orders for over a week, and even in-store services like contactless payments, gift cards processing, and returns were disrupted. Shoppers encountered empty shelves as supply chain systems were affected, and according to reports, Scattered Spider is the prime suspect behind the attack. The hackers also believed to have stolen data from M&S as early as February 2025, possibly through suppliers' compromise, and then in late April deployed ransomware identified as Dragonforce to encrypt M&S systems. Now, the result was one of the most disruptive cyber incidents in UK retail history, with M&S e-commerce down for multiple days. The Metropolitan Police and the UK National Cybersecurity Centre launched investigations. And while M&S did not publicly confirm the perpetrators, industry experts connected the dots to Scatter Spider's tactics. This incident showed industry experts or showed groups' willingness to go after critical business operations and not just steal data, essentially holding a large retailer's business a hostage. Just after M&S was hit, another major British retailer, Co-op, reported an attempted cyber intrusion. Co-op detected unauthorized access attempts and, as a precaution, shut down parts of its IT systems proactively. The company took unusual security measures in response, reportedly asking staff to avoid using corporate VPNs, to keep webcams on during meetings, and not to record calls. These steps suggest the Co-op feared attackers might have been eavesdropping on internal communications or had partial access, and they wanted to maintain vigilance. Fortunately, Co-op was able to contain the threat before it escalated to the level of widespread outages. While the exact culprits were not officially confirmed, the timing and similar tactics strongly implied Scattered Spider was involved, or that incident was part of the same campaign as other UK retailers. Now, Harrods department store, a luxury retailer in London, became the third high-profile UK retailer to disclose a cyber attack in a 2-week span. On May 1st, Harrods confirmed they experienced unauthorized IT access attempts, prompting the store to restrict internet connectivity across its networks as a safety measure. Harrods stated that its operations continue normally in stores, suggesting the attack was caught early. Again, while Harrods did not name the attacker, media coverage pointed out that Scattered Spider was likely linked given the pattern of attacks. Now, NCNC issued a warning to all retailers after these incidents, calling it a wake-up call for the sector to strengthen its cyber defenses. Clustering M&S, Co-op, and Harrods attacks in quick succession shows that Scattered Spider, or copycats inspired by them, can rapidly pivot between targets, looking for any opportunity to breach high-value organizations. Together, these breaches, I think, paint a picture of Scattered Spider as a bold, prolific threat actor group, from North America's casino giants to the UK's famous retail stores. The reach has been global. In each case, though, familiar tactics surface: help desk impersonation, phishing for credentials, and remote access tool abuse, as well as ransomware deployment. Now, financial motivation is clear: extort companies for multi-million dollar payouts. But there's also a sense of notoriety, as the young hackers seem to be keen to prove their prowess against big name victims. This combination of ambition and aggression makes them especially concerning. Now, last but not least, I want you to explore, guys, how we can defend against the threat actors like that. Confronting a group as crafty as Scattered Spider, I think, requires a combination of technical controls, user education, and preparedness. So, first of all, I think organizations should assume that purely technological barriers, such as firewalls, antivirus, might be not enough, since the threat actor excels at tricking people and abusing trusted tools. So, here are several strategies to defend against Scattered Spider and similar social engineering driven attacks. I think, guys, first of all, you should bolster your user awareness and verification procedures. Since the initial foothold often comes from phishing or vishing, invest in regular security awareness training. Teach employees, especially IT help desk staff and high access personnel, how to spot phishing emails, suspicious texts, or unusual phone calls. Encourage a culture of healthy skepticism. For example, if an IT staffer receives a call to reset someone's password, they should verify the requester's identity via a second channel. Implement strict verification procedures for any password reset or MFA reset requests. Users should be warned. MFA fatigue tactics. If they receive a barrage of unexpected MFA prompts, they should report it and not automatically approve it. And likewise, train employees to be alert to possible SIM swap indicators and to have secondary contact methods just in case. Secondly, harden multi-factor authentication. Enabling MFA is essential. But as we have seen, basic MFA like push notifications or SMS codes can be bypassed via social engineering. So companies should move towards phishing resistant MFA where possible. This could mean using things like physical security keys or platform-based authentication, or basically platform-based authentication that use number matching or biometrics instead of just approve deny prompts. So by using MFA methods that require user interaction, they can't be easily tricked. You can thwart some of the MFA you can thwart some of those MFA fatigue attacks. Now, also, consider limiting MFA prompt retries or implementing detection for abnormal MFA attempts. In high-risk scenarios, you should require re-authentication for sensitive actions even after login to reduce the window an attacker can operate with the stolen session token. Now, how to protect against SIM swaps? Work with your mobile providers. Set up port out pins or passwords on employee phone numbers to make unauthorized SIM swaps harder. Educate employees to contact IT immediately if their phone suddenly loses service. And where feasible, avoid SMS or voice calls for MFA. Use app-based or hardware authenticators that are not reliant on phone numbers. So this way, even successful SIM swap won't give attackers the keys to the kingdom. And obviously, monitor and control remote access tools. Because ScatterSpider abuses legitimate administration tools, organizations should have tight controls on these. So maintain an inventory of approved remote administration tools in your environment and consider application whitelisting to block unapproved software execution. For example, if your IT team uses Screen Connect, you might block or flag the use of TeamViewer, AnyDesk, or any other by a policy. And also implement endpoint monitoring that alerts when tools like ngrok or remote desktop utilities are run on non-IT machines or are at odd hours. Network monitoring can also help. For instance, you can detect the new external connections, which is command and control traffic, that might indicate an attacker using a tool to tunnel out. Given the scattered spider often uses these tools for C2, having behavioral analytics that look for unusual remote control activity can also help them detect them in the act. Also, strengthen your endpoint security and logging. Ensure that EDR, agents, and antivirus are deployed widely and kept updated. Even though the group may try to disable these, having visibility is crucial. So configure login to capture authentication events, password resets, and MFA device changes and use of admin tools. And most importantly, make sure that your logging detects when things like EDR or antivirus is being turned off, because that will be the clear indication of something bad happening. And another important tactic to use is incident response readiness. Given that the group's ability to cause a major disruption, organizations should always prepare their incident response plans specifically for ransomware and extortion scenarios. Conduct drills or tabletop exercises on how you would respond if your help desk was connected or if a widespread encryption started on your network. Key elements might include things like maintaining offline backups or of your critical data, having an internal or external communication plan, and knowing legal law and enforcement contacts in case of an extortion attempt. So, part of preparedness is also ensuring that you have the tools to kick out the intruder. So, for example, can you force reset all employee passwords and sessions quickly if faced with a domain-wide compromise? So, practicing this can save precious time during real incident. Make sure you continue to patch vulnerabilities. While Scattered Spider might rely on trickery than software exploits, they have taken advantage in the past for known vulnerabilities when needed. Make sure you are, cyber threat intelligence sharing. So since this actor is actively being investigated by law enforcement, organizations should stay updated on the latest indicators of compromise advisories. The joint FBI and CISA advisory on Scattered Spider provides known TTPs and IOCs. But in essence, defense against Scattered Spider is about covering both human and technical angles. No single solution is foolproof against a determined social engineer with malware in their back pocket. But by making employees harder targets, reducing the attack surface, especially for remote access and MFA abuse, and planning for the worst case scenario, organizations can greatly mitigate the risk. As the NCSE emphasized in a wake-up of the UK retail attacks, companies should tighten their cybersecurity practices and remain vigilant. This group tests the resilience of even well-secured firms, so a proactive layer defense is the best strategy. Now, to sum it all up, Scattered Spider has proven itself to be an adept and relentless threat actor group, blending youthful audacity with effective hacking techniques. In just a few years, they have escalated from SIM swapping phishing scams to breaching actual Fortune 500 and critical infrastructure, leaving a trail of encrypted servers and leaked data in their wake. They remind us that social engineering is often the path of least resistance for attackers. Why struggle with zero-day exploits when you can simply talk your way into a network? By impersonating trusted personnel and exploiting human lapses in security, Scattered Spider bypasses expensive defenses and then uses their own tools against us. So, however, their successes also serve as a lesson for the cybersecurity community. Each incident, from Las Vegas casino to London department stores, has raised awareness and prompted improvements. Companies are now drilling their staff on verification of requests, implementing stronger MFA policies, and watching their networks more closely for the subtle signs of intrusion. Law enforcement across the US and UK are collaborating to trace these hackers, and reportedly multiple members have been arrested. As defenders shore up their human and technical defenses, even a group like Scattered Spider can be stopped. Now, in the cat and mouse game of cybersecurity, Scattered Spider is a formidable cat today. But with vigilance, education, and robust security measures, organizations can avoid becoming the next caught in a web victim. By understanding these groups, their history, their tactics, their tools, and their motives, we empower ourselves to better defend against them, stay alert, even stay informed, and remember that sometimes the weakest link can be turned into the strongest defense with the right preparation. Thank you guys for listening. Hopefully this created some more education and some information about the new and upcoming danger that is Scattered Spider. I would like you to drop in the comments, guys, if you found the video useful and how else and what else I should provide for the next future videos for you guys. Stay safe out there, as always.